Hi everyone, welcome to the latest edition of the DLC's Tools and Tricks series. I'm Dr. Alex Kolfus, and today we're partnering up with the evaluation team at the Friday Institute to bring you a video that explains how to run pivot tables in order to analyze data inside Microsoft Excel. Now before we get started, there's something I want to let you know. This runs a little bit differently if you're working on a Mac or on a PC. So we've actually made two videos for this, and this one that you're watching right now is the Mac video. So if you're on a PC, you might want to close this one out and hop over to the other one. So if you already have a data set that you want to use, you already have an Excel file ready to go, feel free to use that one. If not, there's one available from the evaluation team that you can play around with. I'll show you how to get to that. First thing you want to do is navigate to this address, go.ncsu.edu/glfes-moodle. Now, that link is going to be over on the side there. And you're going to scroll down until you see this link, GLFES Excel Workshop Data. So I'll show you where that is. And the file name is actually this Student Survey Workshop, but the link is this Excel Workshop. So I'll show you where that is. So here's what that site looks like. And scroll down until you see Summer Institute 2014. And it's this third link right here. Okay, so go ahead and download that. And once you've got that, the Excel file will open up like this. Here's the raw data tab. You see you have several tabs down here at the bottom. We're pretty much only going to be working in the raw data tab and a new tab that gets created with our pivot table. But there's a few other ones down here that you might want to check out. We'll refer to the legend tab, but if you want to explore the other ones, feel free to do that. So there are 5 things that we'll be learning how to do for the rest of this video. The first is actually creating the pivot table. The second will be selecting the data that we want to look at in that table. The third is choosing specific things that we want to look at and compare from among all the data that we've chosen. The fourth is how to change and select how the information is output. And the fifth one is how to apply filters if you want to do that. Okay? So first, to actually create the pivot table, if you look here on this green bar, we want to make sure that the Data tab is selected. And then over here we've got the option for Pivot Table. If you click the arrow next to it, there's a little drop-down menu, and we want to create a manual pivot table. You've got this option that shows up and asks you where the range of data is going to be. Next to that field, click on this button here and it'll let you actually select it from within the spreadsheet. We're going to select all the columns, the full columns from A all the way over to CX. Okay. And then click back on that little icon next to the field and then click. We want to make sure this is selected right here, new worksheet. It should be defaulted to that, but if just make sure that that is selected, and then click OK. And then you'll see this stuff pop up. Over here on the side, you've got where your pivot table is going to be once you figure out the data that you want to show up in it. And over on this side, we've got all of our options. This is all the different columns. I'm scrolling down here. We've got all the different columns that were in our data set, and we can pull those in individually. So before we actually start moving data around, let me explain what these fields down here at the bottom are. This first one, report filter, that's where you can, if you want to filter the data, that's where you plug something in. And that's our last goal, so we're going to do that. We're going to deal with that later. Over here on this side, we've got column labels, and then down here we've got row labels. So that's the information that is going to go across rows and then down columns. And then here, in the Values tab, that's the value that's actually going to show up at the intersection of the rows and the columns. So to start with, we'll pick something kind of simple. Let's grab gender here, and we're just going to click that and drag it down to our row label. Now you see, as soon as I place it in there, over in my pivot table, we've got 1 and 2 shows up as rows. Now that's actually information available in the legend. You'll see that 1 is male and 2 is female. So if we want, we can come in and type those in. So we'll just change that. Okay. And now let's say that, so we're going to be looking at some kind of data, some kind of information, and we're looking at the difference between genders. Okay, so let's take a look at, do you plan to complete the program? Okay, so we're going to take that and plug that into our column label. And so that is, do you plan to complete? And you'll see that now columns have been added 1 and 2. 1 is yes, 2 is no. Now, as of yet, there's nothing that's at the intersection. There's nothing in the values. Okay, so we want to figure out what it is that we want in the values. And actually, it's the same thing as we have in our column. Okay, so we're going to grab that same thing and drag it down to values. Now you'll see that here, this defaulted to the count. So it's going to give me the count number. There's different options that we can select, and that's actually our 4th goal. So we'll look at that in just a second. Once I plug that in, you'll see my table now populates. So here we've got males who said yes, they're going to complete their program, 321. Males who said they were not going to complete the program, 12. Females who said they were going to complete the program, 45. Females who said they were not going to complete the program, 2. So that now has given us this information, and we can play with that however we want. We can continue to add columns, we can add rows, we can change those out. So let's say that we want to get rid of something. We've changed our mind and we want something different. If you grab something that's down here and just drag it away, then it will disappear. Okay? So we've still got over as our row labels gender. So let's pick something to compare here. We'll scroll down until you find where it says technical skills importance. Now this is the composite score of all the questions they were asked about how important they felt technical skills were. We're going to drag that down into the values. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more until we see technical skills preparation. We're going to drag that also into the values. Now you'll notice that something interesting happened. Once I dragged 2 things, more than one thing, down here into the values box, the column labels automatically became the values of whatever the question was. So you'll see over here the count of technical skills importance, count of technical skills preparation. So that automatically happened. Okay? So I didn't need to drag anything into the column labels. Now, right now, what this is telling me is that there were 411 males who answered that question. That's not really the information that I want there, so a count here isn't terribly valuable. It is valuable for the last example we looked at to know how many students were going to complete or not complete a program. But here, instead of a count, we instead want to look at something like an average. So to change that, you'll see right over here on the side there's a little italic I. If you click that, you have the option of summarizing the information by sum, the count, average, max, min, and so on. We're actually going to pick average. Click OK, and then do the same for the second one. Change that to average. So now what we have is an average rating of the importance, still separated out by male and female, of the average importance that they placed on technical skills and how prepared they felt. Now we can continue to add things. There's another here, workplace knowledge importance. We're going to drop that in there as well. And then workplace preparation. So we'll stick that in there as well. And again, we want to change those to average. And you'll see that we can continue to add information that we want to look at in our pivot table. If we want to get rid of something, again, just grab it and drag it away, and it will disappear. Okay, so now we're just looking at the importance and preparation of workplace knowledge. So I've decided that I want to trade out, instead of looking at gender, I want to look at race and ethnicity. So I'm going to grab the row labels and get rid of that, and instead find the question labeled I identify as. It's up near the top. And I'm going to drag that down here into row labels. Now you'll see once again we've got these numbers that show up, and that can be translated if you look at the legend. For example, 3, which is the first over here on our column, 3, is black or African American. Now I can type those out and change those, but I want to point out something that didn't happen. You'll see the numbers say 3, 5, 6, 7, and 99. 99 is other, but 1 and 2 and 4 and 8 don't show up. So if we look at our legend, 1, for example, is American Indian, Alaska Native. 2 is Asian. What that means is that no one who took the survey answered the question and identified themselves as Asian, for example. So the number 2 isn't going to show up there. Okay? So now I've got my data sorted so that I can look at how different races and ethnicities think about the importance of workplace knowledge and how prepared they feel for workplace knowledge. So in addition to that, I'm wondering what males of different races think about workplace knowledge importance. Or I'm thinking about what females of different races think about the importance and the preparation of workplace knowledge. So what I'm going to do is find gender, and I'm going to drag gender into the report filter box, this first box there. Now you'll see that right now, nothing in my pivot table really changed, but up here in the first row, gender was added as a filter to my pivot table. So on the side of that, I've got a little pull-down menu, and right now everything is selected. So I'm going to deselect all, and I want to just look and see what males of different races and ethnicity think. So I click male, and now the numbers are only showing how the male students answered. If I change that out and do female, now I'm seeing what female students of different races and ethnicities thought about workplace knowledge, importance, and preparation. So I'll put everybody back on and then close that out. So we've talked about how to create a pivot table, how to select all the data that you might want to look at and compare in your pivot table, how to choose individual pieces of that data to compare and analyze. We've looked at how to change the output, whether it's the count or the average, and there's a number of other things that you can choose from in that list. And then we've also looked at how to apply a filter to your information, to your pivot table. Please feel free to contact anyone at the Digital Learning Collaborative or on the evaluation team at the Friday Institute if you have any questions, and I thank you so much for watching.